If you stand at the peak of the world's tallest mountains, your body is literally dying. At 26,000 feet, you enter what scientists call the death zone. The air is so thin that human cells begin to starve of oxygen within minutes. Most people think Mount Everest is the deadliest place on Earth. It's not. It doesn't even make the top 3. Today, we are scaling the top 10 highest mountains in the world. And when we hit number 10 and number 2, you'll see why even the world's most elite climbers are absolutely terrified of them. To understand these giants, you need to understand a club known as the 8,000ers. These are the only 14 mountains on Earth that soar more than 8,000 meters above sea level. All 10 of our entries belong to this exclusive lethal club. Let's start with a peak that eats elite climbers for breakfast. 10. Annapurna. I don't let its position at number 10 fool you. Annapurna I is officially the most dangerous mountain on this list. Statistically, for every 3 climbers who successfully reach this summit, 1 dies trying. It has a staggering historical fatality rate hovering around 30%. In 1950, French climbers Maurice Herzog and Louis Lechenal became the first humans ever to summit an 8,000-meter peak right here. They made it back down alive, but paid a horrific price, losing nearly all. Their fingers and toes to severe frostbite. 9. Nanga Parbat. Known locally as the Diamond District, but known to the rest of the world by a much darker name, the Killer Mountain. Nanga Parbat is home to the Rupal Face, a mind-boggling 4,600-meter vertical wall of sheer ice and rock. It is the largest rock face on the entire planet. Before its first successful ascent by legendary Austrian climber Hermann Buhl in 1953, 31 people died just trying to find a viable path up. Buhl completed the final section completely alone, without supplemental oxygen, a feat previously thought to be humanly impossible. Mount Manaslu. Its name comes from the Sanskrit word Manasa, meaning mountain of the spirit. Manaslu is characterized by its long, dramatic ridges and sharp, serrated summit pinnacle. Manaslu is highly prone to catastrophic avalanches. In fact, entire base camps have been wiped clean off its slopes overnight by walls of snow traveling at over 200 miles per hour. Yet it remains a historical landmark. In 1956, an all-Japanese expedition claimed the first ascent, cementing Manaslu's deep, permanent cultural connection to Japan. As we climb higher into the list, the thin air turns into a permanent freeze. The next 3 mountains are so massive they generate their own localized microclimates. Dhaulagiri. Dhaulagiri literally translates to the beautiful white mountain. For over 30 years in the 19th century, Western geographers actually believed Dhaulagiri was the highest mountain in the entire world. While it lost that title, it gained a reputation for extreme isolation. Emphasize, its south face is a vertical nightmare that remained unclimbed for decades due to its sheer, terrifying steepness. At number 6 sits Cho-Oyu, the turquoise goddess. Because of its gentler slopes and proximity to a major trading pass, mountain guides universally label Cho-Oyu as the easiest of all the 8,000-meter peaks to climb. Don't mistake. Easy for safe, it's still inside the death zone, but its relative accessibility has allowed for historic speed records. Elite mountaineers have climbed from base camp to the summit in less than 15 hours. Of Makalu, this is Makalu, the giant pyramid. Located just 12 miles southeast of Everest, Makalu is instantly recognizable by its striking 4-sided structure. It is an absolute fortress of granite. The final push to the summit of Makalu requires technical rock climbing at extreme altitudes where your brain can barely process basic commands. It is widely considered one of the hardest technical climbs in existence. Lhotse is often completely overshadowed because it is directly connected to Mount Everest via the South Col. People mistake it for an extension of Everest. But Lhotse is a beast all its own. The jaw-dropping fact, to climb Lhotse, you must ascend the Lhotse Face, a blue ice wall that tilts at a 40 to 50 degree angle for over 3,000 vertical feet. One slip here is catastrophic. Number 3 is Kangchenjunga, which means the 5 treasures of snow, named after its 5 distinct, towering peaks. Until 1852, humanity actually thought this was Earth's highest peak. This mountain is deeply sacred to the people of Sikkim. Out of deep respect for local religious beliefs, The earliest successful expeditions promised never to set foot on the literal, absolute summit. Instead, they stopped just a few feet short. To this day, many elite climbers still honor this ancient pact. If Everest belongs to commercial expeditions, K2 belongs strictly to elite mountaineers. It is an absolute nightmare of vertical rock, hanging ice cliffs, and storms that materialize out of absolutely nowhere. Near the top lies a terrifying couloir known as the bottleneck. Climbers must navigate directly beneath giant, unstable pillars of glacial ice called seracs. If a serac snaps while you are underneath it, you vanish. For generations, K2 was considered completely unclimbed in the winter. The extreme cold and 100-mile-per-hour winds made it impossible. That was until January 2021, when a historic team of 10 legendary Nepalese climbers made history by summiting K2 in the dead of winter, singing their national anthem hand in hand as they stepped onto the peak, Mount Everest. And finally, standing at an official joint measured height of 8,848.86 meters, Mount Everest. Known as Sagarmatha in Nepal and Chomolungma in Tibet, it is the absolute roof of our world. Today, Everest faces a bizarre modern crisis: overcrowding. Because of its legendary status, hundreds of climbers flock to the mountain during a tiny weather window in May, causing human traffic jams right inside the lethal death zone. Long before the crowds, in 1953, Sir Edmund Hillary and Tenzing Norgay Sherpa stood where no human had ever stood before. They proved that human determination can overcome the harshest limits of our planet. These 10 peaks represent the absolute limit of our world's crust.